I feel called to begin this video with just an invitation to drop into your body. Now you close your eyes and take a few deep breaths with me. Breathe in, breathe out. If you feel like you want to make a sound on the exhale, so breathe in. It is as if we are being born again. We may have the innocence of a child again, but we don't have the ignorance of the child. I love this quote by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who's the author of Women Who Run with Wolves. She says, "Ignorance is not knowing anything and being attracted to the good. Innocence is knowing everything and still being attracted to the good." So it is as if we are coming around full circle and we are ending one cycle and beginning a new and another cycle. This eclipse, the eclipse, where to even begin with this energy? All right, so solar eclipse in the sign of Aries happening on April 8th. We sort of entered this portal of recapitulation, you could say, and that's continuing with this eclipse with Mercury going retrograde, and this whole month is going to feel like a re-evaluation of your path, of your priorities, of certain behaviors. We're being asked to look at, what's not working anymore, and we're being supported to make great leaps of change. But I also want to say, I feel like it can come across as if nothing will ever be the same after this point. You're gonna heal all of your trauma. And yes, I think it's a potent and powerful time for that healing. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay? I feel like that this narrative of short, intense change is what we search for within our culture, right? The wanting the quick fix. So just know that this is the first step. This is initiating an energy that's going to be around for a while. So it's kind of it marks a point within the zodiac where we're soon going to see Mercury, Venus, Mars go past this same spot. And so these personal planets kind of can reactivate the energy of this eclipse. So it's not a one and done. This is going to be an energy that's playing out through most of this year. This eclipse is happening in the sign of Aries. So I'm going to talk about Aries energy, right? It's the first sign of the zodiac. It is a sign of new beginnings. It is the archetype of an innocent child, right? And maybe we tend to think that children don't know a lot about the world, but consider maybe where were we before we incarnated on this earth? You know, children do come in with a certain amount of wisdom. So this theme of like returning to our innocence, returning to our childlike kind of perspective on the world, and more than anything, just like ourselves before we were conditioned out of our natural state of being, one of curiosity, one of feeling worthy to take up space. You know, Aries is the I am consciousness. You know, I am. Like not putting definitions onto things. And a state where there is a lot of potential energy. And so there's a lot of force and a lot of fire. It's giving us the energy to move beyond the dark places that we may have been in these past couple of months, like through the winter cycle. And it's really an energy of blooming, of coming up from the earth, coming out of the snow, like thawing our hearts. And there's this there is an energy with Aries of like a primal force, like being ruled by the planet Mars, like a primitive force within this archetype that is, you know, a little bit volatile actually, but especially with the Chiron energy, it's like being able to harness the parts of Aries and of this primal energy and transform them into like being more of a healing modality. So going into the archetype of Chiron a little bit more. So Chiron was a centaur, right? So he is a half horse, archer, and half human. So this kind of does symbolize this bridge between our human and animalistic nature, and bridging our conscious and unconscious, or the seen and the unseen world. And there's like a lesson, I think, in like not to shun our animalistic or primitive nature, but to lean into it with some amount of like self-awareness and consciousness. So Chiron, you know, was born and his mother was horrified at his beastly nature and basically disowned him. So like that was the first wound. And I think a lot of us can identify with in some way feeling shunned by our family, our peers. Maybe we didn't get like all the attention that we deserved as children. And so this really connects us back to our core childhood wounds. And then Chiron received a second wound of a poison arrow in his ankle. And it's interesting being that Chiron is in between Saturn and Uranus, and these are both the rulers of Aquarius. Aquarius rules the ankles in the body. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like Aquarius archetype too, of feeling a little bit like an outsider, or like you don't belong, and getting this wound in his ankle, wound being like a motivating force to learn about the healing arts, but also that he was never able to like get rid of this wound. So basically what I want to say this is pointing to is like that thing in your life that you may have always thought, oh, if only this had never happened to me, or if only I could get over this one thing, then I would be happy, then my life would be so much better, then my life would have been so much different, I wouldn't have had to suffer in the ways that I have. So it's really finding within the suffering the gold, the alchemical process of turning these heavy, dense things, our suffering. We're being shown the ways in which our core wounds and core trauma actually is a way that we can live out our purpose. Like searching for the meaning within our suffering being a bridge to searching for the meaning of our lives. So this may bring up like a lot of difficult inner material. Like I want to say, I feel like if you're someone who is really self-aware, that you're doing your own work, I think this is going to like really support you to like quantum leap onto your highest timeline. So maybe we came to identify with this wound so much that it's almost like maybe we don't know ourselves without this wound. And so it's kind of like the identity that you created, maybe out of the need to survive, is now being shed to reveal like more authenticity. And there is like a very strong energy underneath this, like energy of like conquest and self-assertion, like a pioneering originator, a maverick, a one who is blazing the path, and I think those of us that like are awake and like know really what's going on, we are blazing the path for the future of this planet. And during this portal, it's like what I was shown was kind of like hieroglyphics of light coming in. So you hear people talk about like the light codes. We are receiving an energy on levels that our mind cannot comprehend, that are going to be like integrated into our bodies to support this next phase of healing, where it may be like you'll just see at some point, this thing that used to be really hard isn't really hard anymore. Or maybe it's easier to accept compliments, or to see yourself in the beautiful ways that others see you. Within a couple days of this eclipse, we're going to have a Mars in Saturn conjunction. This is like almost like a warring energy, because Mars is an energy that wants to move quickly. Saturn is an energy that wants to move slow and deliberately. And so it might feel like, you know, like you have to do something, but then there's all these like, okay, but how? Okay, what are the consequences? Okay, am I sure it's what I really want? Like, you don't have to rush right now, and also being a retrograde, like anything that you might begin right now is probably going to need to be reevaluated in the future. Having this Aries energy also with like Mercury retrograde, there can be kind of this like not having a filter with your speech, or like being really blunt, and that could be a double-edged sword. So like it could actually lead us into speaking more authentically, speaking our truths when maybe we would normally like hold back a little bit more. But also just like watch out for like maybe speech that could be like insensitive. Like this warring energy, it might be like an inner war with your own fear and your own emotional reactions and triggers. And I want to share another quote that I love, which is, fear is actually courage being realized. And I've started to like tell myself that whenever I'm like feeling fear come up. I would say trust what is showing up, what's coming into your life, and trust what feels worn out and is leaving your life. It might be uncomfortable growing pains right now, but it is illuminating things in the darkness for us to see and to work through, and to just shift our perspective around a little bit. So like main lessons of this eclipse, I would say like self-compassion, being able to hold space for our human flaws and just accept them as like part of the human experience, and seeing our wounding in a new light, seeing the ways in which certain limitations kind of like push us to grow in a certain way in order to ultimately be able to serve others. So like I feel as though this energy has a certain like volatility to it, and while there are all these like parties and festivals going on, and like it is like an epic historical event, there's also like chance for a lot of conflict, a lot of upheaval, a lot of like disharmony between people. And so like in my opinion, like using this energy as like a time to like be in prayer, to be in meditation is a wise choice. But you know, whatever you're doing, just like have it be intentional, have it be authentic to a direction that you want to be heading, and know that these like big changes that are happening are going to continue to play out for, you know, the month of April and beyond. So blessings to everybody. Like, I know, like, things be feeling real weird right now, but I just want to say, like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Just remain open, you know, keep the faith that you have in your higher power and creator, whatever that looks like to you. You know, be intentional about how you're using your energy, and get plenty of rest. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video.